Happy Sunday fun day, guys. Captain Dylan Hubbard here from Hubbard's Marina, talking to you a little bit tonight about some nearshore and offshore fishing. Whatever you guys want to talk about, we're here tonight to chat it up. So if you guys had a fishing question, whether it's how to fish, what to fish for, when to fish, what fishing regulations, any type of questions you might have, we're going to cover them live tonight. Keep in mind, guys, we have red snapper season is on the doorstep. June 1st, red snapper season opens up. Gag grouper open up. So we're looking forward to the gags and the red snapper starting up. Now, amberjack does close for June and July. So we have amberjack May, August, September, and October. And then we'll have red snapper from June 1st to July 22nd at 12:01 a.m. And we'll have the gag grouper from June 1st till the end of the year. So there's a bunch of different fish to fish for coming up soon here this summer. We just had a 12-hour night snapper this past Friday night on the full moon. And we had two guys, Tony Silipeth and his buddy, came out and they caught some nice mangrove snapper. Probably 8 to 10 big fat mangroves. There was a lot of barjacks caught. A lot of yellowtail snapper, vermilion snapper, some porgies. So the 12-hour night snapper did well. And get this, Friday night, we were so worried about the weather and the conditions. And luckily, they got away with hardly, they didn't get rained on from what I hear, and hardly any bumpy conditions. So we really got away with a good one Friday night with that 12-hour night snapper trip. Then Saturday morning, we ran a 5-hour half day, and even with the little bit of bumpy conditions we had Saturday morning, they were calling 2 to 3 foot, but it was really more like a solid 3 foot. We were able to catch plenty of great eating fish and really capitalize on that pre-tropical storm bite. So it was a really good time Saturday. Now, as far as weather that's going on right now, we have subtropical storm Alberto is just about northwest of us, west-northwest of us right now. And that thing should be making landfall sometime tomorrow night and getting out of the Gulf. So tomorrow it's still going to be a little bit bumpy. They're calling 6 to 8 foot seas near shore. And we have a high tide at 11:19 or 11:12, excuse me, in the morning. So we're worried about that high tide tomorrow morning. That west wind will pick up and hopefully not blow too much water in the area. Marcelo Silva, what's up, man? Bruce Rosen, how you doing? Bill, thanks for tuning in, guys. Feel free to drop your questions in the comments below, and we'll get started answering some of those questions for you. Philip Jacob said, how many hours fishing do you have on the average 12-hour extreme trip? Well, Philip, that's a great question. Typically, on our 12-hour extreme trip, you get about a 2 to 3 hour ride out, and you typically have anywhere from about 7 to 8 hours fishing time. That's typical of the 12-hour extreme trip. Now, we're fishing anywhere from about 70 to about 100 miles from shore, anywhere from about 120 to about 220 foot of water. We've been catching some really big red grouper, amberjack. We've been doing well out there. Big African pompanos. Captain Joe brought home some big African pompanos on the Flying Hub 2 the other day. Captain Anthony had a trip the other day, brought home some nice big tuna. They were out deep water fishing on a wreck. They had the amberjack going. It was a really good push at amberjack, and all of a sudden the tuna came up behind the boat and they started catching blackfin tuna. And then the sharks showed up, and the sharks bit a tuna in half, and the game was over. The amberjack fled, the tuna fled, and the bite kind of died off, and they had to move away. So it's been going really well, to say the least. Now, behind this storm, like I said, tomorrow we've had to cancel our nearshore and offshore fishing trips. But Tuesday, excuse me, they're only calling 4 to 6 or 3 to 5 foot, excuse me. So 3 to 5 foot Tuesday near shore. So that shows it's going to be laying down. We might be able to get a trip out Tuesday morning. Wednesday it lays down to 2 to 4 foot. So Wednesday's is definitely going to be the first day we go back out fishing. Thursday, they're calling some nice conditions as well, so we'll definitely be fishing Thursday. And then Friday, June 1st, we're going deep and going after those red snapper and gag grouper, getting some revenge. So as soon as I get my computer back here, we'll get started reading some of those questions that we passed by. You all done? Thank you, my beautiful assistant. My wife got us all set up here, so let me go ahead and get back to the Hubbard's Marina page, and we'll scroll up and see some of these questions we missed here, guys. Again, if you're just tuning in, type your questions into the comment box below, and we'll answer whatever questions you might have about your fishing trip or fishing regulations or whatever you want to learn about. Tonight is your chance to learn or hopefully have your questions answered that you've been wondering about. So let me see, where was the first question? Bear with me, guys, if I skip your question. We got a little out of order for a second here. So Leanne Rose said, see you at the end of June through July. We'll see you then. Your son will be busy doing some good fishing, but we look forward to having you back in the area, Leanne. Marston said, hi, I'm going on the 12-hour Flying Hub 2 June 17th. What is open? Well, a good resource for you, Marcin, is on our website, hubbardsmarina.com. You can go to the info tab and click fishing rules and regulations. We have everything from the Gulf Council's website posted right there for you. So all the regulations are posted, but just so you know, in June, we'll have everything open except for amberjack and triggerfish. So gag grouper, red snapper, and then all those yummy snapper that we typically catch will be biting well as well. So Marcin, everything's open except for amberjack and triggerfish in June. Philip Jacobs said, thanks for the info. I'll be down next month. I'll see you then. We'll see you then, Philip. Thanks for tuning into the video. Hope you enjoy. Rick Schumann said, ready for the 12-hour trip the 10th, and I'm on the wait list for the 13th. Well, stay tuned, Rick. We will be adding some 12-hour extreme trips. We have a few days that aren't privately chartered yet, and we're giving clients until early part of this coming week. If they don't book up the Flying Hub 2, we're going to be opening those days to more extreme trips. And then we always have the Flying Hub 1. The Flying Hub 1 is coming fresh out of dry dock with some fresh motors and some fresh body work. And that boat is looking beautiful. So we'll be using that boat for private charters too. And we might even use that boat for some of you guys on the wait list for the Flying Hub 2 extreme trips. You can hop on the Flying Hub 1 for the same price. It'll be less people on the boat, and it'll be a great opportunity to get you out there deep. So Edwin Leonard, good evening. Thanks for tuning in. Cody Sorrells, what's up from North Carolina? Cody, what's going on, man? Thanks for tuning in. Randy Cornelson asked if we rent left-handed reels. We do not rent left-handed reels. Unfortunately, we do not have any left-handed reels, Randy. A conventional reel always has the handle on the right. A spinning reel always has the handle on the left. And I'm personally right-handed, but when I'm fishing with the spinning reel, I use my left hand to reel. When I'm fishing for a conventional reel, I use my right hand to reel. If you learn how to do that, no matter what hand you're dominant on, you're going to be much more successful, Randy, because you'll be able to go anywhere in the world and pick up a rod and use it without any problems. So I always tell people, even if you're left-handed, just get used to, with the conventional reel, reeling with your right and using your left hand as that power hand. And then when you're using a spinning rod, you reel with your left and use your right hand as a power hand. It doesn't matter what dominant hand you are. And hopefully that'll work for you, Randy. But there are some places around here where you can buy some left-handed reels and hopefully use them with some success. But no, to answer your question, we don't rent left-handed reels just because you have to order them special, and we don't have requests for them that often. And more often than not, they get lost or broken before the next time they're requested. So it just doesn't really work out. Angel Parish Davenport said, how's the weather holding out? The weather is looking good at the end of this week. It's going to start getting better Tuesday. It's going to be good enough to fish Wednesday. Thursday, it's going to be getting even a little bit better. Friday, it's going to be back to normal. Saturday is going to be gorgeous. So the longer you wait, the better the weather, the better the fishing's going to be. I have a YouTube video. When you go to Hubbard's Marina's YouTube page, you can look up how weather affects fishing. We just had a brand new, like 9-minute long video that goes in detail about how weather affects fishing, from cold fronts to hurricanes to whatever it is. I talk about it in detail in that YouTube video. So check that out, and that'll kind of give you some more information on how to gauge when you should go fishing behind this storm. But basically, everything's got to get back to normal. Weather's got to calm down, rain's got to stop, water's got to clear up, and then everything's going to be back on fire. So probably sometime Thursday afternoon into Friday is when that will happen. But we'll be able to go fishing again Wednesday, and Thursday is looking beautiful as far as wind and seas are concerned. It's just fishing probably won't be back to normal, all-out great catches until later this week. But we are able to go fishing Wednesday, and I'd love for you to come out and prove us wrong and catch us some fish. Tommy Hicks, thanks for the kind words, man. I hope you enjoy the video. Thanks for tuning in. Barry Long said, what's your favorite secondary rod setup for the 12-hour extreme? Barry, I would bring a 6-aught rod. If I was going on the 12-hour extreme in June or July for these red snapper and gag grouper, I'd bring a 6-aught reel with 60 to 80 pound test. Probably if I was targeting gags, 80 pound would probably be wise. And then about an 8-ounce lead, an 80 to 100 pound leader for the gags, maybe even 125 pound leader, a big 8 to 10-aught hook, and then for the red snapper, a 60 pound leader, 7-aught hook, or even an 80 pound leader with the 7-aught hook. And then my secondary setup would be a 2-speeds Daiwa Saltiga with 60 pound fluorocarbon leader and a 60 pound fluorocarbon top shot. And that would be my secondary rod. But you can rent a rod and bring that 2-speed reel with you, Barry. Again, a Daiwa Saltiga is my favorite 2-speed reel, but they also have a Daiwa Saltist if you don't want to spend the money on the Saltiga, or you could go with the Shimano Talicas. They also have a Penn Fathom 2-speed, which is a little bit even cheaper than the Daiwa Saltiga or Saltist. But I prefer, I'm a Daiwa guy, always been a Daiwa guy, and not sponsored by them, but I love their reels. Michael said, do you always want your bait sitting on the bottom for mangroves? I read Bob talk of fishing a couple of cranks off the bottom, especially in snaggy bottom. What's the ideal technique? Personally, Michael, maybe you're talking about Bob Harbison, but personally, I always fish for mangrove snapper flat on the bottom. If you're in snaggy bottom, you can use a little bit lighter weight, or you could use a knocker rig type setup, but you always want to be flat on the bottom. The mangrove snapper are very smart fish, so I like using those fishing on the bottom, flat on the bottom, so that way those mangrove snapper won't be spooked. They're a very smart fish, so if your bait's not flat on the bottom, your leader's not stretched out, those mangrove snapper can sense it, especially if your bait's not on the bottom. Even in a perfect, flat, calm condition, no waves, the boat's going to be moving. So if your bait's not on the bottom, it's sitting up in the water column, that lead's going to be bouncing. So your bait's going to be bouncing. If that bait's moving up and down in the water column, you're not going to catch a big mangrove or a quality mangrove, and you're not going to catch a bunch of fish. Your bait's got to be, your lead's got to be flat on the bottom, not moving, perfectly still. And you got to be moving that rod tip up and down with the sea. If you're sitting there drinking a beer, talking to your buddy, and not paying attention to your rod tip, your lead's bouncing on the bottom. And if your dinner plate was doing this on the dinner table, it'd be difficult for you to eat, even if you wanted to eat. So you got to keep your lead still on the bottom. Move your rod tip. If the boat's going up, my rod tip's going down. If the boat's going down, my rod tip's going up. I'm keeping that line perfectly tight enough to feel the bottom, but not disturb my lead off the bottom. And that's how you're going to catch a lot of mangrove snapper and some big mangroves while you're at it. You can use a knocker rig technique and try to get those mangroves before that lead gets to that snaggy bottom. But in my opinion, you got to be on the bottom for the mangroves. Daniel said, how long does your top shot need to be if you're using braid? Good question. Excuse me. Daniel, top shot is one of those things you definitely want to use a top shot. You never want to fish straight braid. If you're fishing straight braid, that is not the preferred method for bottom fishing, especially for snapper or grouper or amberjack, because straight braid doesn't have any shock. So as that fish comes to the surface, he's got his mouth facing towards the boat. He's got his mouth open and he's shaking his head, and he tears a hole in the side of his mouth, and he's able to spit your hook. If you fish straight braid a lot, you'll notice sometimes you'll be pulling that fish up off the bottom, and then all of a sudden that fish will just come unbuttoned for some reason, and that's because a lot of times that braided line has allowed that fish to tear a hole in the side of his mouth and spit that hook. So you really want to make sure that you're using a braid, monofilament or fluorocarbon top shot to allow that fish to have some shock absorption. Also, the top shot allows that braided line to be hidden. If you're using straight braid going all the way down to the bottom near your lead, your fish can see that. So a top shot's going to hide that braid. Also, if you get tangled with your buddy, if you've been doing it a while, you're out there fishing, you can feel when another line starts touching your line. And if you're using a top shot, when you feel that start to happen, you got to start cranking really, really fast until you feel tension. Once you feel tension, that's when you got to put it in free spool and keep your thumb on the line and make sure your buddy's fish or your neighbor's fish doesn't get broken off because of your braid. But that way, you're making sure that your monofilament is tangled, not your braid. Because so often, if you're not careful and you get your braided line tangled up, you're going to lose a lot of braid. And it can get expensive, and you'll lose your top shot. You'll lose a ton of fishing time. So you've got to use a monofilament or fluorocarbon top shot. You typically want to use at least 2/3 of your line in the water as top shot. You want to be paying attention. Now, if you're more familiar with offshore fishing, if you're more of an advanced angler, you can get away with like 1/3 of your line in the water being top shot, but it's more difficult. And basically what happens out there on the party boat is if someone's using braid and causing problems, the captain and crew will talk to you and we'll have to switch you out to another rod, or we'll have to stop you from fishing and put a longer top shot on there. So it's always a good idea to start with a longer top shot than you think you might need. And then over time, throughout the trip, you're going to break off, your line's going to get frayed up, you're going to have to cut it and tie it again, and your top shot will eventually get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter throughout the trip. So if you start with a really long top shot, that's going to make sure that you're not causing any problems, that you're not going to get tangled with your neighbors, you got plenty of shock absorption, your line's going to act like everybody else's lines, and if you get tangled, you're going to be mono to mono instead of braid to mono, and we're not going to have to cut that braid. And over time, you're not going to have to retie your top shot every time you break off, because you're just going to lose a small section of that long top shot. So to answer your question, Daniel, it depends on your skill level, your experience level, and what you're fishing for. If I'm fishing for big grouper in deep water, I don't use a top shot because I don't use braid. I use straight mono. If I'm fishing for amberjack, I would prefer almost straight mono. If I'm fishing for something that's quick biting and I need a lot of sensitivity, like a mangrove snapper, yellowtail snapper, hogfish, that's when I would use braided line and I would use a top shot. or vertical jigging. Vertical jigging, you want to use a majority of braided line because you want that sensitivity to work that jig. If you're using all mono to work a jig, that stretch, you're not moving the jig very much if you got a lot of stretch in your line. So that would be a jigging. You'd only want maybe 8 to 10, maybe 12 feet of fluorocarbon or monofilament top shot. For mangrove snapper, maybe 25, 35 feet if you're good. If you're just starting out, maybe more like 50 to 60 feet. So hopefully that answered your question, Daniel. Leanne said, how's the weather? The weather's pretty good down here. It just kind of depends on the day. Today they were calling for it to rain all day long. It ended up being a really nice day after about 1, 2 o'clock, and it was perfect. So we just really watching the weather, watching the radar, waking up every morning and evaluating the weather. And don't let the weatherman scare you. Stay tuned. Excuse me. We do our weather and fishing report every morning. You can stay tuned to our Facebook page, Hubbard's Marina, and we'll be more than happy to check the weather for you and help you make sure that you're picking a good day of fishing. So today the weather was great. Just a little bit rainy this morning, then it cleared up nicely. It was a beautiful afternoon, but it was a little too breezy to go fishing, unfortunately. And it will be too breezy again tomorrow, but Wednesday's looking better. Thursday's looking even better than that. Rick Schumann said, we covered that one, Rick. Next one. Adam Chandler said, how deep are you going for grouper and snapper? Well, Adam, you can catch mangroves, or you can catch gray snapper in 9 miles from shore in 25, 30 feet of water. For mangrove snapper right now, the bite's out there in about 75, 80 to about 120 foot of water. That's where we're seeing the mangroves. Red snapper, you can catch them anywhere past about 100, 110 foot of water. Even shallower, really, but the big red snapper, 150 foot plus. The red grouper are biting really well, about 150 foot plus as well. We're seeing some big gag grouper in anywhere from about, we were seeing them in spring, about 70, 80 foot of water. Now we're seeing some more gags out there in the deeper water, 180, that kind of stuff. The summertime, as the water warms up, those gags typically are spread out there in the deeper water. Good part about Tropical Storm Albert is it should congregate a lot of these red snapper and gag grouper onto these larger hard bottom structures. So we're hoping red snapper season June 1st we start off with a bang because we're going to have a great red snapper and gag grouper bite thanks to that weather really kind of stirring the Gulf up and getting these fish all congregated for us. Charles said, can't wait to see you for my June 8th 39 hour. Charles, we look forward to seeing you June 8th for your 39 hour as well. That 39 hour trip gives 20 hours of fishing time, a 2-day bag limit, 70 to 100 miles from shore. So that trip is truly special. That 2-day bag limit gives you tons of fishing time and tons of opportunity to catch plenty of big fish. Now that means 4 red snapper, 8 grouper, 2 amberjack, etc. You're allowed to essentially double your daily bag limit on a 39, 44, 63 hour trip with us. But it is a little bit difficult to fill up those double limits, but a lot of times the more experienced anglers have a real good shot at doing it. So we look forward to seeing you soon, Charles. Maybe you can fill up that new Engel cooler you got from the Tampa Bay Fishing Club. Gustavo Perez said, Izzy and I in the house. Gustavo, big shout out to you guys. That was impressive. That's a father and daughter fishing team that came out on our 12-hour night snapper Friday night. Fished all night on the 12-hour night snapper. Got off the boat at 7 a.m., turned around and went back out at 8 a.m. for a 5-hour half day. So they fished for 17 hours straight, father and daughter fishing team. And Izzy is not that old, Gus. If I'm guessing, I would say she's somewhere in high middle school, early high school. So that was really cool to see you and your daughter out there fishing with us 2 trips in a row, back to back. Max LeBron said, Hubbard's is the bomb. I appreciate it, Max. Thanks for tuning in, buddy. Rick Schumann said, if there is enough people on the wait list, would you possibly add a 12-hour on the 12th or the 12th? Cheers, guys. So, Rick, if there's enough people on the waiting list, what we're going to try to do is any days that aren't currently booked on the Flying Hub 2, we're going to turn into new 12-hour extreme days. So those would be new dates we'd add to our schedule coming soon. We'll announce right here on Facebook and through our email list, and we'll update our website. But Rick, essentially our Flying Hub 1 is going to be open for private charters, 4 to 5, 6 people, or even one person doing these 12-hour extreme trips on that smaller, faster rocket ship of a boat. That thing is brand new, basically. We essentially rebuilt the whole boat. But if there's 6 people on a waiting list, we can take the 6 of you who are willing and put you on the Flying Hub 1 as a split charter. And that's what we're looking to do, Rick. The 12-hour extreme is essentially a split charter. We allow up to 16 people to go on that private charter boat for a private charter fishing experience. And anybody on the wait list, if we have 6 of you, we'll be able to put all 6 of you on the Flying Hub 1 for another split charter experience. So, yes, Rick, that is our plan, and hopefully it will go according to plan. Edwin Leonard said Friday's coming out. I'm excited to see you, Edwin. The June 1st opening day of Red Snapper and Gag should be awesome. Cody said, Sorrells from North Carolina asked, any trolling on the 12-hour extreme? No, Cody. We're flying out there on the Flying Hub 2 at 33 to 35 knots, upwards of about 40 miles an hour. So no trolling on the way out. Then once we're fishing, we're moving in between spots fairly quickly. If they're short runs, like a half mile, 3/4 of a mile, mile and a half, the boat won't plane off, but we also don't want to put trolling lines out because we want to get to that next spot and we want to start fishing right away. So there is no trolling on the 12-hour extreme. If you want to troll, you got to go on the party boats. The 39-hour trip, the 44-hour trip, the 63-hour trip, the 5-hour half day. Those are the trips you're guaranteed to troll every time. Or book a private charter. Then we can do whatever you want. So if you want to go trolling, 5-hour half day, 39-hour, 44-hour, 63-hour, none of the other trips trolling is guaranteed. But you can sometimes troll on our 10-hour all day depending on who's running and where we're going. What time of year it is, but typically no, just 5-hour half day and then the long range trips on the party boats. Chris said, just changed my reservation from Tuesday to Thursday, hoping for a great day. Thursday, Chris, is the first day where the weather report looks really good waves-wise, but it's still they are still calling for some rain, so it might be a little bit rainy. And this tropical storm did stir up the Gulf a little bit, so that turbidity in the Gulf, that stirred up water, we'll see how quickly it clears, and hopefully the water's clear, everything's laid down, the rain won't bother us, and Thursday we'll go out there and smash them and get ready for the Friday Red Snapper opener. Amanda Cecil, what's going on? Tell everybody, tell Archer and John I said hello. The biggest fish I ever caught would probably be a big Goliath grouper in the 500-600 pound range, or a big 12-hour or a 12-foot tiger shark was the biggest shark I ever caught. That was a beautiful fish. About a 30-pound gag grouper. I caught a huge Cubera snapper down in the Pacific with Captain Mike Anderson and the Real Animals and my wife on the Real Animals Fishing Show. Caught a few sailfish down there in Costa Rica as well. Saw marlin in where were we? You remember where we were? Salinas, Ecuador. We saw marlin in Ecuador, but didn't hook it up. So caught some big fish, and I look forward to catching plenty more in my lifetime. I hopefully will have plenty more time to go catch some more. Leanne said, not a fish question, but how's my puppy Sig? Sig's doing well. He's at the door right now crying up a storm that he's not in here. But if I let him in, he'd run around like a Tasmanian devil and knock down all the lights and stuff I got going on in here. So Sig is doing well, and he's out the door, ready for me to get out of here. Gary Owens said, how's the second looking Flying Hub private charter? Gary, the first looks good, so the second looks great too. So no worries there, Gary Owens. It's going to be an awesome trip for the Flying Hub 2. If you're on the Flying Hub 1, Gary, the boat is looking awesome. We totally redid the boat, new electronics, new motors, but it is coming out of dry dock, so there's always some question marks there as we put a boat back together, Coast Guard issues, mechanic issues, but it is looking good, and as soon as we know anything otherwise, we'll make sure to let you know, Gary. But you are going to get essentially a brand new boat to take out there June 2nd, and we are working our butts off day and night to get that boat ready for your June 2nd trip, Gary. So hopefully it's looking great, and we look forward to fishing with you soon. I know Captain Joe's ready to take that Flying Hub 1, and so am I. That boat is just such a nice boat and runs so smoothly, has such great fuel efficiency. It's such a killer range. It can go a lot further at the same speed as the Flying Hub 2, but the Flying Hub 1 can go a lot further. Granted, it can only carry 6 people, but that's the boat to do a deep drop trip or a long range trip with. Stephen Hill said, less people, I'll be there in June. That's what I want, less people. I'll be there in June. Well, Steven, if you want less people, don't come in June. June and July during red snapper season. Red snapper is seriously, I think, overplayed in my book. In my opinion, they're not the best eating snapper. In my opinion, they're one of the worst eating snapper. But everybody loves red snapper, and they're only open for a very short time in the year. So they get very, very excited about red snapper, and red snapper is our busiest time of year. So if you don't want a lot of people on the boat, do not come in June. And if you come during red snapper season and say, oh, I didn't want this many people on the boat, well, all I can say, guys, is try to avoid red snapper season. Right now, through the month of May, we've had 26 people on our long-range trips. During June, they will be sold out completely with 50 people. Most of these trips have waiting lists. So not only are they sold out, but we have people waiting to get on them. So it's a blessing and a curse. So if you want to get on a trip with not a lot of people, we have a video all about how to pick the best day to go fishing, and that talks specifically about what days and what time of year to pick to have the fewest amount of people on the boat. So check that out, Stephen Hill. Go to youtube.com and search how to pick the best day to go fishing, Hubbard's Marina. You can watch the video and find out how to pick the best day with the least amount of people on the boat. Joe Nunez said, see you soon. We'll see you soon, Joe. I look forward to fishing with you at Hubbard's Marina. Leanne said, is the taxi still running this summer? Yes, Leanne, the Madeira Beach water taxi is running strong. We're doing very well with the Madeira Beach water taxi, and the Tampa Bay Ferry actually just expanded again. So the Tampa Bay Ferry now operates an Egmont Key ferry from Fort DeSoto's Bay Pier. We operate a Shell Key ferry from Fort DeSoto's boat ramp, and we operate the Madeira Beach water taxi as well, which gives guests a way to get from Treasure Island to Madeira Beach to Western St. Petersburg, all on the boat while avoiding beach traffic and beach parking. So if you're coming to the area for summertime and you're staying in Treasure Island, or if you're staying around mid-Madeira Beach, hop on the Madeira Beach water taxi and skip the traffic on the road. Good question, Leanne. Cheers again, guys. Hopefully some of you guys are enjoying your Memorial Day weekend despite the weather. Big shout out while I'm thinking about it to those of you who've served in the military, or who have family who served, or anybody, may they rest in peace, who lost their life for our country. It's very important this weekend to remember those who served our country, and are the reason that we have the freedoms we have today. Facebook, this video wouldn't be possible without the men and women in uniform. So thank you guys for all those who served our country, and God bless America. So let's keep her moving here. Quick segue there. Stephen Hill said, good video. Keep it up. Thanks, Stephen. These are every Sunday night at 8:30. You guys can always tune in live. Rick Schumann said, interested in the Regulars Club. How many trips a year do you have to take? Our Regulars Club is our loyalty program, not a discount program. How it works is you have to do at least 10, 15, or 20 trips a year or more to qualify for the Regulars Club. You pay a little bit of money to join, and once you get into the club, then you'll get set discounts on the trips and some other benefits as well. You can email me. The easiest email to send me emails at is simply info, I-N-F-O, at hubbardsmarina.com. You can email me your questions about the Regulars Club, Rick, and I'll send you all the sign-up information for our Regulars Club. Now, that is, again, a loyalty program, not a discount program, and it runs to the end of the year. It doesn't matter if you sign up today or if you sign up in November. It ends December 31st of 2018. But we will start signups for 2019 somewhere in November 2018. So if you were interested in the club, Rick, you have a few months to try out some trips, see if you are really in love with us at Hubbard's Marina as much as you think, and hopefully you will be. And then in November, we can always get you signed up for 2019's Regulars Club, and you'll get a little bit more time. Uh-oh. Something happened here. Comments jumped around. So hopefully I don't miss you here. Let me get back to where we're at here. Well, I think I might have missed a comment or two. But the next one I see here is Frank Fuller said, gotta love the Imperial. I do as well, Frank, ever since Captain Mike Anderson's trip to Costa Rica with the real animals. This has been one of my favorites. This and Kayak beer from the Bahamas, another one of my favorite beers. But I always prefer Jameson. But I got to work tomorrow. Stephen Hill, drink your beer. I will. I will continue to do that. Thanks, Stephen. Chad Andrews said, it's all fun and games until you pitch a bait into a 90-pound wahoo with a fully loaded party boat trip. Chad Andrews is the man. He was out on a 12-hour red snapper trip with a 40-pound setup spinning rod and literally sight casted one of the largest wahoos I've seen caught at Hubbard's Marina. It was just shy of 90 pounds. Sight casted it with 40-pound test on a sold-out 12-hour day trip on the party boat with Captain Bobby. And somehow Chad got that fish to the boat, and we were able to stick a gaff in it. I mean, Chad, that fish, I still tell stories about that fish. That was quite the catch, buddy. So thanks for tuning into the video and bringing that story back up. Scott Riley said, what is a top shot? Scott Riley, the best way I could explain a top shot would be if you went to hubbardsmarina.com, you clicked info, and then clicked the fishing tips page. Under the fishing tips page, there's a whole section about braided line, and that's going to talk about top shots. Michael Service said, in our experience, what's the best bottom for mangrove snapper? For example, Swiss cheese, ledges. What are you looking for on your machine for mangroves? The best bottom for mangrove snapper typically is rock piles, big ledges, or artificial wrecks or reefs. Mangrove snapper love hard bottom, love structure. Any type of big structure is going to hold mangroves. And the best thing to look for on your machine is, in the summertime, mangroves will be just about anywhere underneath the bait schools, stuff like that. But you want to look for some nice hard bottom and then some relief on the bottom. What I can tell you, Michael, is if you're really wanting to learn about how to read a bottom machine and some tips and tricks about how to find bottom, check out Salt Strong Fishing. Salt Strong, we just filmed an entire bottom fishing mastery course for grouper fishing with them. And in September, we're going to film a snapper fishing mastery course with them at Salt Strong. So Salt Strong is a great way you can join their insider fishing club. They'll have some videos coming out soon announcing their partnership with us here at Hubbard's Marina and myself. And I'll be doing those classes personally with the help of Captain Anthony, Captain Joe, Captain Garrett, all the guys here at Hubbard's Marina. So if you want a chance to learn some more about how to find bottom or what you're looking for on your bottom machine, definitely check out the Salt Strong Insiders Fishing Club. I had another question about Top Shot. Top Shot is not a leader. Top Shot is simply a shock absorber that you use when you're fishing braided line. Braided line works well inshore. If you're fishing the flats, braided line's great. All you do is put a leader on it. When you're bottom fishing for snapper or when you're vertical jigging, that is when you might want to use some braided line. But you cannot use braided line all the way down to your swivel. It will not work offshore, fishing straight up and down, bottom fishing. Your lead's going to get tangled. You're going to get tangled with your neighbors. We're going to constantly have to cut your braid. It's going to be a nightmare. You're going to lose fish. You're not going to catch as much fish, so you've got to use a Top Shot. So all a Top Shot is if you're using braided line to fish mangrove snapper in, say, 100 foot of water, we'll do that to make it easy. So if you're fishing for mangrove snapper in 100 foot of water with braided line, you would put about 40 to 50 feet, maybe that'd be a good starting spot, about 40 feet of fluorocarbon or monofilament line. You'd do a line-to-line knot. You'd reel that onto your reel, and then you would put your weight on that. You'd put your swivel, and then you'd put a leader. So a Top Shot is essentially, I guess you could say, a leader before your leader. And all that does is add some monofilament or fluorocarbon above the swivel. And that acts as a shock absorber and prevents you from getting tangled up with yourself or losing fish, because it gives that fish something to pull on without tearing a hole in the side of his face and spitting your hook easy. Stephen Hill said the weatherman doesn't know what he or she is talking about. Couldn't agree with you more. The weather forecasts are simply educated guesses. That's all they are. That's all mine is an educated guess. So definitely can't take forecasts as the Bible. What I always do, what I always tell people is do not take oh man, one of my pet peeve, what really grinds my gears, if you will, if I get an email and says, I've got a trip booked in 2 weeks, I looked at the advanced weather forecast and it's not looking good. Well, I understand, guys. I understand you're excited, and I love that. I appreciate your enthusiasm. But advanced weather forecasts is like going to a... I can't say that because some people might believe in that, but advanced weather forecasts is like trying to understand, I guess you could say, women or something like that. Just pick something that's impossible, something you can't ever do, and that would be advanced weather forecasts, because weather, especially in the state of Florida, is only accurate till about 24 to 48 hours out. And my wife's in the room, so I'm going to pay for that comment about understanding women later. But I would say you only want to look at weather about 12 to 24 hours out at most. So what I always tell people is pick whatever day you can go fishing. You can always email me, message me, or look at the weather links and try to guess at what day is going to be your best bet, and pick a day and stick to that day. And then as that day approaches 24, 48 hours out, you're going to get a better idea of what the weather is actually doing. Not a forecast, actually doing. And then you can kind of change your plans accordingly. So hopefully that answered your question. Ricky, what's up, buddy? Thanks for tuning in. Good job on that 12-hour night snapper, Ricky. Thanks for coming out with us. Adam Chandler, thank you. I appreciate your thanks. Thanks for tuning in. John Ryerson said, can you give me a phone number to your shop? Phone number for our shop is 727 727-393-1947. Again, that's 727-393-1947. But the best way to get some information, John, is to look us up at hubbardsmarina.com. So the name of our page, Hubbard's Marina, just put that together, remove the apostrophe and add a .com. And that's our website. Because our office is closed currently, John, we're only open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. this time of year. And due to weather, we're running on a little bit of a shorter schedule. We're open right now 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. But once this weather clears up, probably starting tomorrow, we'll be back to that 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. schedule. Peter Osborne, yes, amberjack season does close June 1st, just like the National Marine Fisheries announced in the beginning of May or end of April. So they originally said amberjack season would be July 1st to the end of the year. But like we've been saying since December, that was wrong. They would change it again. And sure enough, they did change it again to exactly what we've been saying since last year. Amberjack season is May, August, September, and October. We've been emailing that every week for multiple weeks now, so hopefully no one else is confused about it. We had some people confused because our specialty trip schedule wasn't updated, and that's my fault. But we've been talking about it a lot, so I wanted to make sure we emphasize that, Peter, when you saw that question. I'm not picking on you, but I appreciate you bringing that up. Amberjack season, again, is May, August, September, and October. June and July, amberjack is closed. But we have, also June and July, triggerfish is closed. So both of those months, no triggerfish, no amberjack. Rick Schumann, who else wants to go on the Hub 1 on the 13th? Everybody wants to go on the Hub 1, Rick. It's going to be awesome. Angela Fitting-Hume, our private charter sales and group sales specialist, has done an awesome job filling up the Flying Hub 2. Whatever days aren't filled are going to be added as 12-hour extreme trips. We have 2 Sundays on the 39-hour trips that were reserved for private charters. One client backed out, one didn't get booked. So we're probably going to not only add new 12-hour extreme trips, but we're probably going to add some new 39-hour trips to our schedule too for red snapper. So stay tuned to the Hubbard's Marina Facebook page. We'll be making those announcements very shortly. You want to book those up as soon as we announce them. And then Rick, we will be any Flying Hub 2 extreme trip waiting lists that have a good number of people on it, we'll be turning those into Flying Hub 1 private charters once we get that boat back in the water and up and running, hopefully, and most likely in time for our June 2nd private charter with the gentleman who commented before. Rick said, if you go on the party boat, do you have to have a stern spot to troll? If you're on a 5-hour half day, 39-hour, or longer, you do have a chance to troll on the party boat. And no, you do not have to have a stern spot to troll. Cheers. You don't have to have a stern spot to troll, Rick. You can troll anywhere as long as you have a spot on the boat. What we do is before we leave on those 39-hour trips, we do a little bit of a seminar or pre-boarding seminar, talk a little bit more about the trip and what you're getting yourselves into. And at that point, we ask, all right, who's trolling? If we have 10 people or less raise their hand, no problem. Everybody can troll. If we have 15 people raise their hand, then what we will do is we will then do some type of a lottery system. Those people who have a stern spot do have the first right to troll. So if you have a stern spot, you're going to get an opportunity to troll first. But if we have more than 10 people who want to troll and you have a stern spot, you get to troll first. But that does not mean you have that spot the entire ride out. Your spots are only reserved for bottom fishing. That's it. So during the ride out and back, those stern spots are community trolling spots. We do our best to make sure everybody gets a spot to troll and an equal amount of trolling time to the best of our ability. But the crew does sleep on the way out and the way back. So typically what we do is we'll have someone acting as a deck boss. And generally that's our fishing coach, Mr. John Martin, Big John. And he'll be out with us through red snapper season, helping us out with that. Mike Marks, the weather's looking good for June 1st opener. We talked quite a bit about the weather towards the beginning of this video, but to answer your question, Mike Marks, the weather's looking good for June 1st, and we're hoping that it's going to be awesome fishing behind this subtropical storm, stirring up the Gulf. Hopefully we'll have an awesome fishing time at the beginning of June. So yes, weather is looking good for red snapper opener. Leanne Rose said, love little puppy Sig. Yes, Captain Sig, the puppy, Mr. Sig as I call him, is a 90-pound ball of muscle. I love my Doberman, and he's a good boy. Harold Molina said, which trip do you recommend for a beginner? The best way to start fishing with us here at Hubbard's Marina is do a 5-hour trip. Try that, then work your way up to a 10-hour. Try that, work your way up to a 12-hour night snapper. Then try my favorite trip, the 39-hour trip. And you'll have a great time. Now, I am running out of time here, guys. Ryan Hine from the Tampa Bay Fishing Club just chimed in here. Let me know I'm out of time. They're doing a live giveaway on the Tampa Bay Fishing Club at 9:45. So I'm going to sign off here in another 20 minutes or so to make way for the Tampa Bay Fishing Club's live video on their page. They're giving away like a $500 reel or something crazy over there. Every week they do a live giveaway. They announce it on a Friday night. The giveaway runs all weekend, and they give it away live on Sunday night. So if you ever want to fish, if you do fish in the Tampa Bay area, if you come fishing with us in the Tampa Bay area, definitely check out Tampa Bay Fishing Club. That is an awesome group, local guys, really good anglers. There's a wide variety from the expert angler to the I just started fishing yesterday angler in that group. There's 33 or 35,000 members. We're pretty active in there. We give away a lot of trips because the Tampa Bay Fishing Club does a lot for our community. They do a lot of different community cleanups, etc. So we do a lot with them to thank everybody in the fishing community. Devin said, when are the red grouper coming? That is a great question, Devin. The red grouper bite has not been at its best this year. It's been real slow for the red grouper. So, unfortunately, it's been hunting and pecking, but they have been pretty steady as of the last couple weeks. We're finding them more out there in the deep water, 150 foot of water or more. My wife just said red grouper fishing's not slow for her. She caught a nice big 20-plus pound red grouper the other day when we were filming with Salt Strong. So maybe she'll give you some of her spots. Leanne said, tell your family hello. We'll be out there end of June. We'll see you soon, Leanne. Thank you for coming back to Hubbard's Marina. JC Crawl said, when can a recreational fisherman take his own boat out to keep a red snapper? Great question, JC. And that's June 11th through July 21st at 12:01 a.m. We've got a whole video on YouTube. Just simply search JC Crawl, search 2018 red snapper, Hubbard's Marina. You'll see a guy holding the red snapper and our Hubbard's Marina logo. Click on that video. I explain everything in detail about red snapper 2018 on the Gulf Coast of Florida. So June 11th through July 21st to answer your question, though. But check out that video. That'll explain more about why and when. Randy said, thanks, Cap. Why you I will. All right, I'm a little confused by your question, Randy, but I think what you're saying is thank you for that comment earlier. And no, Randy, thank you for your service to this country. And I appreciate all you guys do. Again, big shout out to the men and women in uniform for making our freedom possible. Scott said, Regulars Club at 10 trips. I only take about 20 trips a year with my own boat. That's awesome, man. 20 trips a year with your own boat. Congratulations. But that unfortunately won't qualify you for our Regulars Club. You got to go fishing with us 20 times a year. But congrats, man. It's always good to go fishing. If you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too busy. And it's great to see you tuned in to this video, because this video is not for just Hubbard's Marina customers. Even if you're fishing your own boat, hopefully I'll have some good question or good answers for your questions, Scott, to help you out. I know you asked about that Top Shot earlier, and we can talk more about that. You can just email me info@hubbardsmarina.com, and I'd be happy to talk to you more about it, or call me at the office, or stop by the office. I always prefer if you stop by the office, we can chat face to face, and I'll give you some fishing tips and tricks. Frank Sarcone said, thanks for all your knowledge and info. Keep up the good work. Tight lines. Thanks, Frank. Tight lines to you, man. Enjoy red snapper season. Scott said, can I rappel out of a helicopter and meet you out there? Yeah. When we get that service, we'll definitely let you know. It won't be cheap, but we'll definitely have that sometime in the future, I hope. Tony Stiley said, do you offer a fish cleaning service for large fish? Yes, sir. Smaller fish is $3 for $1. Medium size to large fish is 25 cents a pound for fish cleaning service after your trip. Or you can flay them yourself at one of our extra tables, or you can bring them home, flay them yourself later, whatever you want to do. Again, cheers. Let's see if we have any other questions. Hi, Cindy. Thanks for tuning in. Riley said, are you guys going to be open tomorrow? Yes, Riley, we're open tomorrow, but we're not deep sea fishing tomorrow due to weather. They're calling 6 to 8 foot seas, so tomorrow we're going to be on shore enjoying Memorial Day and honoring the men and women in uniform, and doing some much needed scheduled maintenance, getting ready for red snapper season. We will resume fishing on Tuesday, and the fishing and weather will only get better every day. So if you're in town till Saturday, go Friday. If you're in town till Sunday, go Saturday. If you're in town till Wednesday, go Tuesday. The longer you wait, the better. Excuse me. Ricky said, remember when I helped my cousin catch his first Goliath grouper? Yes, Ricky, we remember that. You are quite the angler, young man. Chris said, thanks again for the free trips. The girls won yesterday at Bass Pro Shops. They were excited. Very informative seminar. How far in advance do you need to make reservations? Chris, if you want to use those free passes you won yesterday at our Bass Pro Shops seminar, it was great to see your daughters out there, and it was awesome that the kids won. To get reservations on a day trip in June and July, the busy summer months, I'd recommend reservations 2, 3, 4 days in advance. As soon as you know what day and how many people you have coming, I'd recommend calling us to book, or booking online. With those donation gift certificates you have, though, you'll definitely have to call us and make reservations for those. But no, you don't need reservations. You can always show up and just go fishing. But we always recommend, if you're going to drive out to see us, that you have reservations so you don't show up for a canceled or sold out trip. Again, thanks for coming, Chris. For those of you who did miss Bass Pro Shops, we're going to do another seminar Tuesday night. This Tuesday night, that's 2 days from now at 7 p.m. at Moss Nissan in Newport Richey with Captain Mike Anderson of the Real Animals. He's going to be giving away free barbecue, a free fishing kayak, tons of gifts. So join us 7 p.m. at Moss Nissan in Newport Richey, and we're going to be giving away 5 and 10 hour fishing trips. And again, we do these live videos every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. Joy Ray Davis Schumann said, are the half-day trips second week of June booked already? No. Joy, I was talking earlier about the June and July trips filling up. That's the June and July red snapper trips filling up. Our half-day trips do get busy in June and July, but they don't sell out more than a few days, typically 1 or 2 days in advance at most. Plenty of room on those half-day trips. So call us or book online. We'll get you all set up. Jovan asked, will the top shot and leader be the same poundage? Typically, yes, Jovan. The top shot and the leader is the same poundage, or weight or strength, and the leader, if anything, is lighter than the top shot. If you're using a 40-pound top shot and an 80-pound leader, you're always going to be breaking above your lead, and it's going to get frustrating. Your top shot's going to get shorter and shorter. You're going to lose a lot of lead and a lot of hooks. So I always use a top shot that's about 10 to 20 pounds heavier than my leader. So, for example, on my Daiwa Saltiga, I have 50-pound braided line, 50-pound fluorocarbon top shot, and typically a 40-pound leader on it. And that's how I fish for those mangrove snapper and such out there in deep water and do so well. That's the secret. Scott, you're welcome, buddy. Tune in next Sunday at 8:30 p.m. for some more question and answer. Leanne said, thanks for all the info. We love you at Hubbard's. Been visiting for 35 years and enjoy the Dolphin cruises and the sunset cruise. It is the best bar on the Gulf. You're right. Thank you, Leanne, for tuning in and all your great questions. And you don't have to tell Emily to get me. She'll take care of that after we turn the video off for all my comments. Yes, you're right, Greg. I am digging a hole. Probably be sleeping on the couch too. Scott said, learned something new today. Guess I'm going to re-spool a couple reels. Well, I appreciate the compliment, Scott. Thanks for tuning in. Barry said, are you going to see me 4 a.m. on Friday? I don't know. I'll probably be pretty excited, and I'll probably be up that early. Typically, I wake up about 4 a.m. to get to the Marina by 5:15, 5:30. But when I'm doing those extreme trips, I wake up at like 2:30, 3 a.m. So, Barry, I'll be doing a lot of the 12-hour extreme trips this red snapper season, but I don't know if I'm going to be doing the first one. That's going to be up to Angela Hume and Amanda Rainbolt. They kind of do my scheduling for me, and I just show up where I'm told to when I'm told to show up. So, Peter said, thanks, Dylan. See you Friday for Red Snapper opener. We'll see you then, Peter, for a 44-hour. We look forward to seeing you. Scott Riley said, thanks for the info. Thanks for joining, Scott. Ryan talked about the TBFC giveaway we already talked about. Definitely hop over to the Tampa Bay Fishing Club after we wrap up here. Leanne, the 5-hour is the best for beginners. I agree. Rick, we do rent fishing kayaks. They're sit-on-top fishing kayaks. You can rent from us at Hubbard's Marina. Jovan said, top shot question. If your top shot is 30 pounds, would you match the leader or go a little lighter? We talked about that already. You'd go a little lighter. So if you had a 30-pound top shot, I'd typically do a 20-pound leader. So for the hogs and stuff, I would do 30-30. You can match your weight as well. So if you have a 30-pound top shot, you can do a 30-pound leader too. And you can't even go above. I mean, don't get me wrong. I often will fish with the 50-pound top shot and a 60 or 80-pound leader. But when you do that, you just know that often you're going to break above your lead, and you run that risk of losing your lead, swivel, and your hook and the whole setup. So it can get annoying if you do that a lot. Tony, you're welcome for the info. I'm glad you're going to be booking some trips with us. Greg said, keep it up. Happened to see me at Lazy Days in Bass Pro, and I was enjoyable as a seminar speaker, so I appreciate that, Greg. Thanks for the kind words. These videos are not that easy after a long week. The Imperial helps a little bit, but still a little bit difficult, so I appreciate your kind words there. Fritz said, had a good time Friday night on the snapper trip, even though it was a little bumpy. I agree. You guys had a pretty darn good catch for it being bumpy. So good job out there, Fritz. Thanks for joining us on the 12-hour night snapper. And I'm glad you guys did so well out there. Angela Daly, thanks for tuning in and your support. Appreciate you joining the Regulars Club, and that was an awesome kingfish y'all caught. I saw those kingfish you caught and that gag grouper you caught. Caught and released on the 10-hour all day, Angela. So look forward to seeing you soon. Ryan said going live in 10 on the Tampa Bay Fishing Club to give away those $500 reels. So that's my cue, boys and girls. I got to get out of here, and you should hop over the Tampa Bay Fishing Club page to see that giveaway. And don't forget, they start their giveaways Friday night, so tune in Friday night to the Tampa Bay Fishing Club to get in on one of those giveaways. And hopefully we'll see you this Tuesday night. That's not tomorrow night, next night at Moss Nissan, 7 p.m. in Newport Richey with Captain Mike Anderson from The Real Animals. We're going to be giving away a 5-hour half day, a 10-hour all day. Captain Mike's going to be giving away a chance at a fishing kayak, giving away free barbecue, and a bunch of other prizes and stuff. So we'll see you Tuesday night with the real animals at Moss Nissan. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. We'll see you next week at 8:30 p.m. These videos are going to be weekly, 8:30 p.m. on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook page. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. Have a happy Sunday. And remember, have a happy Memorial Day. And a big thank you to all those men and women in uniform. We're the land of the free because of the brave. And have a good Memorial Day, guys. Stay safe, stay dry. And let's kill them this red snapper season, guys. If you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Have a good night.